y'all, I'm Anna and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another What's for Dinner. Today's What's for Dinner is a little bit different. All recipes are in the crock pot. This first recipe is called sausage and potato soup, so let's get started. So the recipe calls for andouille sausage, but we just really love this kind, and so that's what I'm using today. This is just the Hillshire Farm beef smoked sausage. I've got a large skillet that's preheating over about medium to medium high heat, and I haven't put anything in there, it's just a dry skillet. Now I'm gonna add my sausage and I'm just gonna saute it until it gets nice and crispy. Now the recipe does not say to saute the onion right now, but I'm going to anyways, and this is probably close to 3 tablespoons of butter. So I'm gonna add that into the skillet and add the onions also, and just cook all of this together. I feel like that will give the onions a lot more flavor, and there's no butter that's called for in the recipe, but I mean, everything's better with butter, so I'm just gonna do it. So I'll let all of this cook together for maybe 3 to 5 minutes, and then we'll add it to the crock pot. I'm gonna spray my crock pot with some Pam. I'm adding in all of my potatoes. The recipe calls for 3 potatoes, but I'm using 4 because mine are kind of small. The sausage and onions. 4 teaspoons of minced garlic. The recipe says to use garlic salt, but I don't have any garlic salt, so I'm just gonna use half a teaspoon of garlic powder. Half a teaspoon of onion powder. I'm gonna add in about a half a teaspoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. The recipe also calls for 3 cups of frozen corn, but I'm just gonna eyeball that. And finally, I need 3 cups of vegetable stock. So now I'll cover this up and I'm gonna turn this on low for 6 hours, and 30 minutes before it's done, we're gonna add some milk and cornstarch, and then we also need some grated cheese and sour cream. So I will see you in about 6 hours. The soup has been cooking for about 6 hours now, and so the next step is to take 2 cups of whole milk and add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch to it. I'll let this continue to cook on low for about 30 minutes, and then we'll add in some sour cream and cheese. So I'm getting really impatient. It has not been exactly 30 minutes, it's probably been like 20 minutes, so it's really not that thick. But now I'm gonna add in about a cup of sour cream. And 2 cups of shredded cheddar. So I'm gonna let this all melt in here, and I'll probably let this cook for maybe 15 more minutes, and then it'll be time to eat. So that soup was so good. I really hope that you try that one. But if I were to make it again, I probably will use chicken stock instead of vegetable stock. I'm just not used to using vegetable stock very often, but it was still really good. I had 2 bowls. So let's get started with recipe number 2. This is a Crockpot chicken quesadilla recipe, and it is so easy. I make it very often, so I hope you enjoy. All right, so here's everything I need to add in my crock pot. I've got 3 chicken breasts, and I know that looks funny. One came from one package and then this came from a different package, so that's why it looks kind of funny. This one's already been thawing for a little bit, and then these two just came out of the freezer, so that's why that looks odd. I've got some taco seasoning and a can of diced tomatoes. This is the chili ready kind. You can use any kind of tomatoes you like. And then I had 1/2 of an onion in the fridge that I need to use up, so I'll just use half an onion today. But if I didn't have that, I would just probably put in a whole onion. I'm gonna spray my crock pot. Next, I'll add in the chicken. So I just added in about 3 tablespoons of taco seasoning to this. I don't use the packet, I just have the big one, so that's about 3 tablespoons. And now I'm gonna add in my can of diced tomatoes. Last thing is my diced onion. Okay, I'm all ready to go, so now I'm gonna cover this up and turn it on low. And I'll let this cook on low for about 6 hours or so, and later we'll shred it up and make some quesadillas. Okay, so the last recipe is chili in the crock pot, and it is exactly the way that I make regular chili on the stove. I already have a video on my channel of just regular chili, and that's actually my most viewed video on YouTube. I don't know why, but that one gets viewed more than any other one, so I'll have it linked below if you're interested. So let's get started. My kids are in the other room playing, so you will probably hear them today, so sorry about that. So I've got 1 pound of ground beef with 1 onion that I sauteed. Now this is probably like 95% cooked all the way, but it's not a big deal because it's gonna go in the crock pot. So I've got that ready and I drained all the fat. I have 1 packet of the French's Chilio mix, 1 can of petite diced tomatoes, and 1 can of Bush's chili beans. The first thing I'll do is spray my crock pot. Now I'm literally just gonna add everything in. And notice I did not drain either can. With my empty chili beans can, I'm gonna fill it about halfway with water. And finally, the Chilio mix. And so that is it. I'm gonna let this cook all day on low. It's about 10 a.m. right now, and so I'm gonna go ahead and cover this up. Turn it on low, clean off my counter, it's a mess right now, and in about 6 to 8 hours we will be ready for dinner. So that wraps up another What's for Dinner. Thank you so much for being here today. If you haven't already, go ahead and click the red subscribe button so that you don't miss any future videos, and I will see you next time. Bye!